It's the Lagniappe Show. You already know that because, well, it says so in the picture and you clicked on it. So, welcome aboard. I am John, no co-host today. I did want to do an update after Hurricane, or what was mostly Tropical Storm Barry. It wasn't too bad, and I don't want to downplay what some of the coastal parishes and more southern parishes in Louisiana had to deal with. You know, there was definitely some flooding, and some people went without electricity for a day or two, which is fantastic. I mean, it used to be you were out of electricity for weeks after a hurricane, and, you know, that was no fun. I talked about that with Kelly in the previous podcast. Well, I think it's just a welcoming sight, a welcoming experience to have. It sucks that you had all these hurricanes in the past, but more experience, you're better prepared. And then, of course, you know, doing the radio thing, it's why we do it. Some people think we do it for ratings, or that's not the case at all. By the way, ratings periods normally don't even happen during hurricane season, just letting you know. But also, you know, they think we're trying to fearmonger or do... No, we're just trying to keep people safe. And, you know, I know some people get carried away. Some people maybe don't say as much as they should. But the whole thing is to get you prepared, okay? We get you prepared for the worst. And that way, you should be able to handle what does come your way a little bit easier. And we keep people safe, or at least that's the idea. Keep them informed. And so that's why we do it. It's not a ratings thing. We didn't overrate this hurricane. Well, most of us didn't, in fact. You know, that's never the idea. Some people just get excited. Some people are just into that. So, yeah, they will overrate some weather. But again, it's not a ratings issue. You got to keep people safe. So I wanted to say that it was a very exhausting weekend, and I'll expand a little bit on that. Before we get into that, I do want to say we're picking up a little following, and so please follow us, like, subscribe. You know, if you want notifications for when we post a new episode, hit that as well. We're in multiple platforms, whether it's YouTube, BitChute, Podomatic.com, also on the iTunes podcast. We're branching out, and I'm thinking of branching out to even more places. So whatever your favorite medium is, like us there, subscribe, and you know, get notifications as well if you're into that sort of thing. I'll be honest, I subscribe to a few on YouTube and these other different mediums, but I normally don't do the notifications thing because I'll go when I'm good and ready. And, you know, if I really like you, I'm going to look up your videos, so I don't need the notification thing. So it's okay. Nobody wants notifications from me. But anyways, I did want to update and tell you a little bit about my weekend with Hurricane Barry. I went in early on Friday, and of course, the previous days were preparing. I do a lot of media stuff for the radio station and the websites, and it was preparing the website for the future pages. I mean, the public couldn't even see these pages yet, but we had to get them made for when they did need to see them. And so it was a lot of preparation the last few days before the weekend, and then, I mean, it was constant, on the clock constantly. We had a little bit of rest. You know, you rest 4 or 5 hours, and you do it in shifts, and then you get up and you go again. And, you know, I had breaks in between where, okay, I get something posted, some info posted, I get up, walk around the hallway, go talk and visit with a few people. 10 minutes later, I got to be back in front of my computer. We've got either more late-breaking information, or it's time to go hit the refresh button on some stuff and update the numbers, whether it's power outages, road closures, things like that. And I had a crew with me that helped. You know, my coworkers did fantastic, and we did some good coverage. But it was a long time. It was the entire weekend. Got there Friday morning, and basically we left Sunday at noon. Put in that much work. Basically on the clock since then. Yeah, we got a little bit of sleep here and there, but you also had to set an alarm, make sure you wake up at a certain time, and then you can maybe go back, get another hour or two, then set your alarm and get up again. That type of deal, because this was a very slow-moving hurricane. It did become a hurricane right before it hit the coast, and as soon as it hit the coast, it really got weak. but it was so slow moving. I mean, it was mostly at 5 or 6 miles per hour. And you think about that. And we lucked out a lot because it didn't have a lot of rain except for the southeastern part of this hurricane. So imagine if it was a lot of rain, 5 mile per hour, you got the front and it cools down in the eye, but then you got the whole back end coming. And normally it's worse on the east side of the eye. But we really lucked out. Really lucked out there. And we got a little bit of rain at home, but not even flooding like we would normally get. Some areas got it worse, but I haven't heard one death related to this hurricane. So that is very, very good news, and I'm proud of everybody, not just the people that I work with, but other media, getting people informed, getting them ready for this, and, that helps. That helps in saving people's lives. I had to take a sip, by the way. This is Jim Beam Black on the rocks, and I'm drinking that in honor of the Jim Beam facility that lost, I think it was 48,000 barrels, not bottles, barrels, in a fire just a few weeks ago. And that's, that hurts. Bourbon is near and dear to my heart, especially Jim Beam, because I'm a fan. I'm not, Jim Beam is okay. The white label Jim Beam that everybody's familiar with, that's okay. Jim Beam Black, what I'm drinking right now, is unbelievable. Then they got the Devil's Cut, which is really good. Jim Beam Black, I find, tastes a lot like Knob Creek. Well, guess what? Knob Creek is like my favorite bourbon. No, it's not smooth, and it's not as smooth as Jim Beam Black. It's 100 proof, and it'll put hair on your chest, and that's kind of why I like it. I like it because it's got the burn. I know I'm drinking something good here. It doesn't have to be smooth and weak or whatever. It's got all the taste, it's got the flavor, it's got the aroma, but it's got the burn too, and that's why I really like Knob Creek. And Knob Creek is made by Jim Beam. So is Booker's. If you like any of that, as well as Basil Hayden's. That's all made by Jim Beam, and I imagine they're already taking the age statements off the bottles. They started doing that a couple of years ago because they have to mix the older bourbons with the younger bourbons to try to, you normally age them like 9 years. So what they'll do is they'll take maybe an 11-year-old and mix that with like a 7-year-old to try to get a good 9-year-old aged flavor, because there's just not enough barrels made. The bourbon boom happened, and well, not enough high demand, not enough supply. So anyways, yeah, that was near and dear to my heart. So I made sure I went go get a bunch of Jim Beam before the prices went up, to be honest. So I racked up on a couple of bottles. So it's Jim Beam Black today in honor of that Jim Beam facility that just went up in flames. And boy, they struggled putting that out because alcohol burns. Not just when it goes down, right? But, it burns on a real fire. This one doesn't burn, though. Jim Beam Black really is smooth. You're looking for one of those smoother ones with the flavor. I've spoken with a few people, and they say just like me. Regular Jim Beam white label, not a big fan. But Jim Beam Black, man, that's some good stuff. And you can... On the bottle, it says award winner, they won best bourbon in a certain contest. Well, I know why. It is good stuff. But the Hurricane Barry weekend was exhausting, absolutely exhausting. Normally when we do these hurricane coverage things, there is maybe 48 hours, total, because these hurricanes are normally booking it. This one was just so slow. So we couldn't wait to get out of there. We were still feeling some of the residual Sunday at noon. I mean, the wind was still whipping at 40 miles per hour. But we put some things in place. The eye had passed us. We put some things in place to where we could all go home. We had somebody stay there who actually didn't have power at their house. So they were fine staying at the station, staying in the AC, and watching over things. And so we could all just go home and get some rest. And, a lot of these people have to wake up. They're doing morning shows, so they get to work at like 5:30 in the morning. And we were just totally exhausted. Monday was like, oh, just hurry up. Just do what you need to do. And we all kind of left early, too. And just no willpower. But you get it done. The problem, I think, really, for me on Monday was I had to fill in for someone to do a morning show. And the creativity just wasn't there. It was one of, I think, the worst morning shows. It was. I still made it okay, but the creativity just wasn't there. I was drinking an energy drink, and that's just made me level. I wasn't energized, and so you could tell that on air. I wasn't reading right. You could tell I was struggling with the copy, and it was just a rough day. Now, got some decent sleep on Monday, and on Tuesday came back pretty strong, back to normal, and really got it taken care of. The creativity came back, but that was such an exhausting weekend. I was very excited. I mentioned in the previous podcast to do hurricane coverage. It's like a cross between work and a hurricane party, like a full-on party. No, there's not like drinking and stuff, but you get to hang out with your buddies, for a little while. It's like sleepovers for coworkers, something like that. But man, was that absolutely exhausting. So something else that happened over the weekend, which I want to mention a little bit. It was totally, we ignored everything else and just focused on the hurricane. But President Trump tweeted something over the weekend, and I wanted to get on it because it really kind of blew up in the media, and they said, here it is, it's full-blown overt racism from President Trump, where they take one of his tweets and they say he asked for women of color in Congress to go back to the country that they came from, is how they frame it, right? That's not exactly what happened in the tweet. Kind of in that vein, yes, but that's not exactly what he said, and it's kind of an out-of-context thing. And is that tweet really racist? Is it xenophobic? Is it more nationalist than anything? Is it actually even hate-filled? Is it constructive? I think we have to look at the actual original tweet. And all these one news organization that decided to do a story on it called it racist. And all these other mainstream media, left-leaning news organizations just ran with it. Yeah, it was just a racist tweet. Trump's racist tweet. Trump's racist tweet. Trump's racist tweet. That's how it was in all the titles and all the articles. It was just plain as day. It was just racist. Like it had already been decided. That, unless it's total overt racism and the person that says a statement admits to it, it is kind of up for debate whether something really is racist or it isn't. I mean, Trump was actually blaming them for being racist. So why would he be racist too in his argument? You understand what I'm saying? So it's what I'm more, and maybe it is racist, okay, but what I'm more trying to get at is how the media covered it. Because they just straight up said it's racist. I mean, they just take that for granted, right? They just take it for granted. When they write their story, it's Trump's racist tweet, Trump's racist tweet, Trump's racist tweet. That's what they all say. One news organization says it, and then the other news organization, forget for them to think on their own, hey, CNN said it's racist, so here comes MSNBC. Yeah, it's a racist tweet. Whether or not, they really believe it, CNN said it was, so they're going to run with it. Instead of fact-checking, doing their own research, it's just repeated over and over and over and over and over again by all these news organizations and taken for granted. And if you go back and you look, they never actually post Trump's tweet. They never post the full actual tweet. It's really easy to embed. They do it all the time for some of the other tweets, but this one they don't. Why? Because they want to take it out of context. They want to say it's overt racism. I personally don't think it's overt racism. I believe you could probably make an argument and say it's racist, and maybe it is, but I'm not trying to debate that point. Understand, that's not the point. I'm trying to say it's not overt, okay? It's not overt racism. Because technically, one of these congresswomen that he was talking about actually is from another country. Yeah, she's an American citizen, but she was born in another country. To his point. Now, the others weren't, but maybe he didn't know that. And you can't say, well, he's saying that because they're women of color, and yeah, maybe one, but they're lumping them all into the same category. No, these 4 particular women are all lumped into that same category already. They're known as the club or the 4, I forget what they are. They're all their own thing. They just had a big spat with Nancy Pelosi, right? They are their own thing. They're already lumped together. So it's not because they're women of color. It's because they're overt socialists, totally out socialists, and they're extremists, and they actually don't vibe with the mainstream Democratic Party. These 4 women are extremists. Democratic Party's not. So they're already isolated. So when you say Trump does that, well, he's not distinguishing them any more than they already are. He's referring to them as a group. And yes, one of them is from another country. So when he says that, maybe he didn't know. Is it ignorance? Is it racist? I don't know. You see what I'm saying? It's debatable, okay? And it's somebody's opinion that it's racist unless he straight up has it overtly saying, yes, I am racist. Yes, I hate this race, right? Okay. But again, the racism part is not what I'm trying to argue. What I'm trying to argue is the way the media covered it. Like I said, they took it for granted and they ran with it. And look, they've been calling Trump a racist for a long time. So this doesn't surprise anybody. You know, for the left, you're just preaching to the choir. For the right, they're just rolling their eyes and going, oh, yeah, we heard all this before. Trump's a racist, whatever. What else you got? It doesn't really make a difference. But they tried to blow this thing up. And again, it was out of context. They never showed the full tweet. So I went go look at it myself. But I can't get over how the media how they cover this stuff. It's not overt racism, it's an opinion, but they just state it matter-of-factly, and then they start just going off on these big tangents based on that assumption. And just roll with it. So yes, this story pops up, and part of the radio station's website, and I have this option. I didn't write it. Comes from staff. I'll just leave it at that. You don't need to know the real inner workings of how it works. But I see it, and we can publish it on our website. And the story that was written was totally middle of the road, 99% middle of the road, talking about what happened and the Congresswoman's response and Trump's tweet and all that. Ready to go, set to publish on Monday. The only thing that wasn't covered middle of the road and simply just the facts, no opinion. The only thing that wasn't like that, Trump's racist tweet. That's it. They covered the Congresswoman, middle of the road. They covered the rest, and when they talked about Trump, middle of the road, they didn't say alleged racist tweet. They didn't say some people say this tweet's racist. Racist tweet. We didn't publish it. Even if it was racist, we're not going to publish that. Understand? I've got dignity when it comes to journalism. It's not an overt racist tweet. And I'm not going to take it as a matter of fact just because you said it is. I'm going to go look at the tweet. Is it debatable? Yeah, it's debatable. Can you fault Trump for even saying something that can be debated as racist? Yeah, absolutely. Maybe he shouldn't have did that. You understand? I can fault him for that. He shouldn't say anything that's even possible to be misconstrued as racist, right? Sure. But the fact that you have to think about it doesn't mean it is absolutely 100% racist. So you can't just put it in an article that it's racist. You can't. In an opinion article, sure. But just basic news? No. That's terrible journalism. Terrible. And then, of course, like I said, and I got this from Tim. I got to give Tim Cass his credit. TimCass.com. Tim Cass on YouTube. He's got a few different avenues. Minds.com as well. Oh, yeah, I'll plug him. But Tim Pool said it's like The Boy Who Cried Wolf, except now it's the leftists that cried racist. Because the left have been calling Trump a racist for, 3 years now? All the way back into the campaign. He's been a racist. No matter all the celebrities that he's been with before and hung out before, regardless of race. No, all that aside, he's racist. That's what the left have been saying. They've already believed it. So they're not convincing anybody. I mean, they're not changing somebody's mind here. You either thought he was a racist or you didn't. Nobody's being converted here. You're preaching to the choir to the left. And for the right, they're just rolling their eyes and going, oh, here we go. Yeah, Trump's a racist. Okay, what else you got? What else you got? After a while, this racism, when you call racism on every single little thing, then it becomes like the boy that cried wolf. I agree with Tim Pool on that. And I think that hurts the case against real racism. It's good to get the idea of racism exists out there. It's good to get that idea out there and have people looking for it so we can stop it. Okay? I agree with that. But every time you falsely accuse racism, every time you do it, hurts the fight to get rid of the real racism. You know, and that is frustrating. I don't want to get too much into it without somebody to talk to, without a co-host to talk about how people look at racism, because I think that can bring up some interesting debates. But we'll move on from that. So, just to wrap this up in a box, was Trump's tweet racist? It's debatable. It's debatable. My issue is the media, some of the media, the majority of them, just state it matter-of-factly that it is racist and don't even try to prove why. They just say it is, and they just take it for granted that it is. That's my issue with it. Moving on, I seen something else in the news that I really wanted to talk about. A couple of podcasts ago, I got to hang out with Sean, and we talked a little bit about AI, and I was very excited to talk about AI, and we never finished one full thought or idea during that podcast. I mean, we jumped from so many things, we couldn't cover it all and couldn't get as in-depth, and I'm still not going to get as in-depth on AI like I'd like to, but you may have heard me mention before about Neuralink. Elon Musk, you know, the Tesla guy doing these self-driving vehicles, which is more of what we talked about when I talked with Sean about self-driving vehicles. But Neuralink is a company bought in 2016, and I think we mentioned that in the podcast, where it's a chip with some electrodes, and they help you embed that in the brain, and it helps stimulate neurons and cells in the brain that help with muscle movement. They're getting funding for this because they're looking to cure, well, at least treat, not cure, but treat Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's, where you put this thing on your brain and it'll actually be able to fire off artificial neurons and simulate the right brain cells to actually get your body moving right and doing certain things. And helping with memory and all of that stuff. And so that's how they're getting the funding, and that's the short term. The long term is being one with AI, symbiotic with AI, artificial intelligence, all the intelligence, the universe, what's on the internet, what's on the computer, you can be symbiotic like that, where now you're Google searching on your phone. Later on, Elon Musk hopes we just think about the question and we Google search it in our head. It just happens in our brain, and we get the answer in our brain. We already basically kind of know it. You just download it. You don't even have to really ask the question. You just have all this knowledge all of a sudden. Kind of. Something like that. Well, it's called Neuralink. And they have been testing it on rats and on monkeys too, apparently. In a press conference, I'm recording this on a Wednesday, in a press conference yesterday in an interview, Elon Musk kind of let it slip. I don't think they were ready to get this out in publication yet. But Elon Musk mentioned that one of the monkeys that they tested Neuralink on actually can control a computer with its brain. So I'm guessing how this works is they put the chip with the electrodes onto this monkey's brain. And then, yes, actually, just a real quick short side, they did say the company Neuralink, the folks that work there, don't like the fact that they have to do testing on animals. They're hoping to do human testing soon. But for now, it is what it is. And they're just trying to push this technology. So anyways, so yes, they did this on a monkey. And I'm guessing part of these electrodes had some kind of wireless Wi-Fi connection to a computer, right? Because this monkey wasn't sitting down with a keyboard. This monkey was looking at a computer and making it do things just by controlling it with its brain. Okay? Like looking at the computer screen and just making it do things with its brain. Now, I'm a New Orleans Saints fan. If you're a Saints fan, you probably heard of, Steve Gleason, right? You remember the Ice Bucket Challenge? He's battling ALS. They did the Ice Bucket Challenge years ago to raise awareness for ALS. Team Gleason, look him up. Please donate. He's done some amazing things for others inflicted with ALS with him. Some things in government to get a little bit more aid to help with research and treatments. And imagine, because you lose a lot of function, okay? And he has this type of computer thing where he types with his eyes. I don't know exactly how it works. It reads his eyes, and he can kind of type with his eyes, and then the computer reads it out loud, because otherwise he can't speak. So that's a pretty cool technology. But imagine if it didn't even have to, if he could just speak to a computer device like that, but not even have to use the eyes, just think about what he wants to say. He just talks in his head, right? And the computer reads it out. I mean, some amazing, and maybe you can start stimulating. I don't know how ALS really works in the body. I'm not a doctor, not a biologist, but maybe, you can get some more movement. Maybe this Neuralink thing can really help folks with ALS. At least treat them if they can't cure them, So this monkey is doing this. Elon Musk let it slip out. It was only a one or two liner, and he just said the monkey can control a computer with its brain, FYI. And then he didn't want to expand upon that. It's something that'll come out later, and they're still doing more research. But I just want you to know, this symbiosis with AI is happening. Okay, self-driving vehicles is happening. They want to start doing test subjects, human test subjects, to be, and I imagine the first ones are going to be medical patients with Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's and stuff like that, maybe ALS. And it's kind of like, what do you have to lose? I think it's great. It's scary, okay? It's great for the people with physical diseases. But it's also scary because the future means symbiosis with AI, artificial intelligence, which ultimately, when you get the best physical and best human intelligence all together, collaborate all that into one thing, and then you give that to an artificial intelligence who actually can think better than a human, and then you get intelligence off of that. Look, we're talking Terminator type stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's it can get scary, and this has to be rolled out slowly. The government needs to be involved and make sure the ethics are in place. But it's happening. and it's happening faster than everybody realizes. And I know I say that a lot, but again, attention, attention. That's why I'm saying it. A monkey can control a computer with its brain. Imagine all you people with carpal tunnel. Imagine all the typing that you've done on them typewriters. Now, people are still getting carpal tunnel typing on laptops. It's not typewriters anymore, but it's still, you got your hand in that scrunched up position, right? Clicking away. Imagine if all you had to do was just think of what you wanted to say. As you say it in your head, it types on the computer screen. And the AI actually does it grammatically correct, and it puts the periods where it needs to be, and it puts the commas where it needs to be, and it corrects it, like autocorrect. So it corrects it while you're saying it in your head, and then if you speak up, if you say it wrong in your head, or incorrectly, see, I said wrong, and it wants to correct that grammar, after it's typed, and you could be starting the next sentence, it could run the AI and go correct wrong to incorrectly. Stuff like that, while it's still typing other stuff. Isn't that amazing? This stuff is going to happen. It's going to happen. So that's going to wrap up this version of the Lagniappe Show. I just wanted to do an update. I don't know what guests I'm going to have next. I'm working on getting Jesse to come in. I want to talk whatever with him, actually, but especially on point, I want to talk about RPG, old school RPG video games, turn by turn, kind of inspired by Dungeons and Dragons. I'm talking about Final Fantasy. I'm talking about Lufia. I'm talking about Dragon Quest, Dragon Warrior, those type games. The battle systems, the systems of how you grow, the job systems, that type of deal. I want to do a conversation with him about that and whatever else he wants to talk about. I need to get my dad on a podcast soon and, get Kelly and Sean back on. Sean's always game to do a podcast. We just got to get those scheduling issues worked out, but we got to be more consistent, so that's what this is. This is an update. And I'm glad to have you tuned in again. Like, subscribe, share. If you want notifications, you can do that too. We're on YouTube. We're on BitChute, Podomatic.com, as well as the iTunes podcast app. Just search The Lagniappe Show. You know how to spell it. Just look at the graphic right there. Okay. Oh, have a great day.